Good evening. There are very few things the Mayor of London and the Prime Minister agree on, but when it comes to climate change emergency, Sadiq Khan today said he stands with Boris Johnson. The Prime Minister opened the COP26 summit in Glasgow this afternoon, saying the world is at 1 minute to midnight, having run down the clock on the climate crisis. Sadiq Khan, meanwhile, travelled to Scotland along with mayors from other major cities around the world. They all have different ideas about how big cities can help slow rising temperatures, from planting 1 million trees to only using renewable energy. Our political correspondent Simon Harris is in Glasgow for us this evening. Simon.
Duncan, anyone trying to get from London to Glasgow yesterday might have wondered if they were going to make it after autumn storms brought such disruption to the main rail line. Today, thankfully, there were no such problems, which was just as well for one trainload of VIPs who had plenty to discuss on the long journey from capital to COP. They're not world leaders, but they claim to represent 700 million people. Today, a dozen mayors from an organisation called C40 posed in front of a branded train at Euston before the journey to Glasgow. C40 is a collective of almost 100 cities from around the world, and Sadiq Khan has just been elected their new chair.
We're using the opportunity as mayors of global cities around the planet to discuss what we can do together to lobby our national leaders to make sure COP26 is a success.
Among the mayors on board today, Yvonne Aki-Sawyer from Freetown in Sierra Leone, a former city accountant from Wimbledon, and Anne Hidalgo from Paris, the socialist candidate in France's presidential election. Tensions between France and Britain over fishing might explain why she declined to talk to the media. They might be from different continents, but these mayors have one thing in common. They can all point to what they see as the real effect of climate change on their own cities. From mudslides to rising sea levels to wildfires.
We have had, over the last few summers, record-setting levels of heat, and that particularly impacts our most vulnerable. We depend on a river system that is in a drought condition right now, and we have to plan ahead for that.
The sea level water is going up, and when the water is going up, the sea level water, the sea water is eating all the agricultural land.
We kind of can feel immediately how radical the extreme weather events have become, how regular that they've become, and this kind of new abnormal, whether it's not having enough water, whether it's wondering if your home is going to burn. We feel that every single day in Los Angeles.
Landslides, flooding, water shortages, extreme heat. These are happening now. It's very, very real. On the 14th of August 2017, we had a mudslide in which 1,000 people died in 3 minutes.
Beyond the train windows, the rain-swept landscape of northern England must have felt like a different planet. As the mayors rattled north in their first-class carriages, they shared their ideas on how they're tackling climate change.
What we're doing, to answer your question, is planting 1 million trees. Freetown, the tree town. It was launched in 2020. We've planted 550,000 as I speak.
I hope that London, for instance, can do as Los Angeles has and have 100% renewable power. We'll be 97% of the way there.
You've got a bit more sun than us.
We've got a lot more sun, but you've got a lot more wind, so it's a fair trade.
Phoenix has a cool pavement program. It's the largest in our country. And we apply a sealant that is a lighter color coating to our streets. We've found that it reduces their heat temperature about 6 degrees Celsius.
If they can do any kind of garden, rooftop, though I am going to rebate the 10% tax, city tax.
London's mayor isn't often heard praising his predecessor, but that's what happened today.
I commend our Prime Minister for trying to be a good host, for trying to persuade other leaders across the globe to take this issue seriously. He's got my full backing in relation to trying to persuade other leaders to take this seriously. We're on the same side here.
4.5 hours after leaving Euston, the mayors made it to Glasgow. Ahead is a lot of talking as they try to leave their mark on COP26.
Simon, the eyes of the world very firmly on Glasgow then.
Yes, and there were some stark warnings from the Prime Minister today about the consequences of failing to tackle climate change. Boris Johnson said world leaders will be judged with bitterness and resentment. And in his stark message to them at the opening of the conference, here's what he had to say.
Humanity has long since run down the clock on climate change. It's 1 minute to midnight on that doomsday clock, and we need to act now. If we don't get serious about climate change today, it will be too late for our children to do so tomorrow.
It was striking to hear Sadiq Khan being so fulsome in his praise of the Prime Minister earlier, perhaps more evidence of his renewed effort to build bridges with the government. Duncan.
Simon Harris in Glasgow, thank you.
Next, to the COP26 summit in Glasgow, where the London Mayor Sadiq Khan's climate change credentials have landed him a new job heading up a group of mayors worldwide, with LA's mayor calling him the new king. But is our mayor green enough for the job? Our political correspondent Simon Harris is there now. Simon.
Charlene, this was a big day for Sadiq Khan. He's made cleaning up London's air his mission, and now, as you say, it's won him a part-time international job. He'll serve 2, possibly 3 years as chair of C40. The outgoing chair is about to be appointed America's ambassador to India, so who knows what opportunities the role might open up for Sadiq Khan in the future. And Charlene, it's not often he's referred to as a king, but he was today. Sadiq Khan, in the middle of downsizing his own city hall, was on a visit to Glasgow's more glamorous version. It boasts the second biggest marble staircase in Europe and is popular with movie makers as a Vatican lookalike. The mayor had a starring role as the new chair of C40, a climate change coalition of mayors from around the world, and he got a regal introduction from his predecessor.
We've got a new king, and Mayor Khan, thank you for stepping up, because I know how busy it is and what demands we have as mayors to step up and to serve your fellow mayors and to serve your country. I hope the citizens of London realize how great it is for them.
I firmly believe that everyone, no matter their background, race, gender, religion, or location on this earth, should have the right to breathe clean air.
The mayor won warm applause after telling the group about his recently expanded ultra-low emission zone. But for some environmental campaigners, there's something that doesn't smell quite right about the mayor's air quality credentials. They question what he's saying here in public in Glasgow because of what they see as a blemish on his record: the Silvertown Tunnel. The plan to put a new road under the Thames in East London has infuriated Green campaigners on both sides of the river.
There's no way of taking the sort of action that's got to be taken on climate and spending £2 billion on this project.
I think he's caught in a tight corner and he can't get his way out of it. I'm sure he would like to cancel it, but he's just got to be a bit braver and just, take the bull by the horns and cancel it.
You said today everyone deserves to have clean air, but how do you square that with building a new road tunnel?
Well, because the Silvertown Tunnel will be inside the expanded ultra-low emission zone. It will be toll-free, but actually King's College say without my policies, it would take almost 200 years to clean up the air in London. With my policies, we'll do it in 5 years. The anti-tunnel campaign organised a small protest outside the council building where the mayor was speaking.
We've got to get people out of their cars, and we've got to get transportation of goods off the road.
Where are you from?
I'm from North Glasgow.
Have you been to Silvertown?
I haven't.
Earlier, world leaders in Glasgow were given a slice of London life when they were ferried to a reception in a fleet of electric double-deckers, which are about to be seen on the capital's streets. Simon Harris, ITV News, Glasgow.